Hi, welcome to PH Insights presented by the Pulmonary Hypertension Association. Join us as we delve into patient stories, healthcare updates, and the latest insights on pulmonary hypertension. Thank you to our platform sponsor, J&J, for their unrestricted support of PH Insights. Sponsors do not endorse or participate in the development of program content. Hi, it's Angela, and welcome to this episode of PH Insights. Last week, we spoke with Mitzi McIver-Labarge about the many ways she volunteers with PHA, but now I am so happy to welcome Abby Sickles to the show. Abby is the program manager for patient and caregiver programs here, which means she is the go-to person for all things support. But I know there's so much more than that. So for this episode, we have Abby here to provide an overview of how PHA supports those affected by pulmonary hypertension. Abby, welcome to the show.
Hi, Angela. I'm so happy to be here to share about our patient and caregiver programs. And yes, Mitzi gave a great perspective on volunteering. But the truth is, you don't have to be a volunteer to receive support. Our programs are designed for everyone navigating the PH journey.
Absolutely. And we will explore all the ways that patients and caregivers can get connected to that support. But first, can you tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself? How long have you been with PHA, and what does your role as a program manager entail?
So I actually started with PHA in 2016. So I've been with the organization for about 8.5 years. So clearly, I really love working with all of our amazing volunteers and our support programs. I manage all of PHA's support programs, which we'll chat a lot about today. I also manage around 250 really incredible volunteers who are made up of patients, caregivers, and healthcare providers, and they all dedicate their time to support the PH community. They're a huge inspiration for me and help make all of our peer support programs possible.
Abby has been fantastic in this role since I've joined PHA in 2021. She has also been just providing a wealth of knowledge and information to me if I have questions. So I really am grateful to be on the same team with you. So I'm happy you're here. But let's get into it, right? Let's take a look at PHA's patient and caregiver programs. Can you now share just a little bit of history with us? Like, how did PHA support programs get started? And maybe then we'll look at how they evolved over the years.
I did prepare a little history for you today. So we have a history lesson on PHA support. So it starts back in January 1991. The founders of PHA and their husbands met for an organization meeting, and they discussed their vision for PHA and how they really wanted it to create a network of support and encourage the formation of patient support groups. So also in 1991, Shawn Wiggins organized the first PH support group meeting at her home in Illinois. Just 8 people attended, which honestly, I would say even today is a fantastic size support group. I always tell people if just one person attends a meeting, it is a meeting and it's very beneficial. To kind of compare that to today, just last year, PHA volunteers held over 400 support group meetings with over 5,000 patients and loved ones who attended. So we really see the value in connecting PH community members with each other. And, our volunteers share their stories with us often, and many of them say that the best part of volunteering with a PHA support program is really making someone feel less isolated and that they belong in this community. Our volunteers do a really great job of this by connecting patients and caregivers with resources, education, other community members, and just providing a listening ear, someone who kind of knows what you're going through, who is here to just listen. And I would love to share one more story with you. As PHA grew, it established a toll-free patient-to-patient helpline, which still exists today and is known as the Patient Support Line. Today, it actually receives over 1,000 calls a year, which is really incredible. So people are really reaching out to others for support and to get connected to resources, and education. And Dorothy Olson often spoke of one experience answering the hotline. This is the story. So she says a young woman called after seeing her doctor, who told her she had PH and had 6 months to live. The
Hmm.
doctor gave her a PHA brochure, so of course, immediately she called the helpline while they were still in the doctor's parking lot. And Dorothy said, I told her I'd been living with PH for 15 years. She cried.
Mm.
This time it was with relief.
Mm.
So I think that's such a powerful story that just really captures why we do what we do. This is why so many incredible volunteers dedicate their time to supporting PH patients. They really want to share hope and let people know we're here for you, you're not alone, and there is hope.
Yeah, man, I don't know if I've ever heard that story before, but that is just so powerful and a testament to the work that you're doing. I believe Mitzi did mention the helpline, so I'm glad we were able to explore more on this episode. And just to circle back to some of the things you said, because this was a history lesson for me as well, to go from the 8 people that Sean saw in that initial support group meeting to 400 support group meetings, 500 people in attendance, that is just amazing. And I'm sure it took a minute to get there, and it took a minute for support services to evolve and to grow. So what does it look like now with your support programs?
Sure. So today, PHA has programs that make it really easy to connect with patients in various ways. So either online, by phone, and in person at support group meetings. So I will just talk a little bit about our various programs and kind of how you can connect. So the first, of course, we just talked about the PHA support line. This is a toll-free number that community members can call at any time to speak with a patient or caregiver volunteer. Many people call the support line when they have recently been diagnosed and just really have questions about what pulmonary hypertension is. They want to talk to somebody else who has it or is familiar with it and just kind of has questions or wants to talk things through. Just a reminder, PHA volunteers never ever give medical advice, but they can certainly share their experiences with you and help lead you in a direction to find resources and the answers that you're looking for. Next, we have the Peer Mentor Program, which is a somewhat new program at PHA where you can visit our website. You can browse all of the peer mentors we have, and you can select the volunteer who you'd most like to connect with. There are different filters that you can select, so you can look for somebody who has a specific experience that they can share with you. You can look for somebody who is either on or has experience with a specific medication that you have questions about. So there are a lot of different ways to kind of find the right person to connect with. And peer mentors are available via email or phone. Next, we have 10 private Facebook groups that PHA hosts for specific PH experiences. Some of these include newly diagnosed with PH, CTEPH, young adults with PH, transplant, and more. So I highly recommend checking those out. They are moderated by fantastic patient and caregiver volunteers. So we make sure it's a safe space in the community to ask questions and share. And last but certainly not least, we have a really strong network of over 100 local and virtual support groups across the country. You can talk to others who understand and learn from PH experts and community members. My one biggest ask is to just give a support group a chance. I think there are a lot of misconceptions about what support groups are. I think we see a lot of kind of more negative examples of support groups in the movies and on TV shows. And I just really want to drive home that PHA support groups are not that. They're very different. They're very uplifting. They're educational. A lot of support group leaders have professionals who will come in and speak about topics related to PH. They're very supportive, and I guarantee you're definitely going to walk away with new friends. So my one ask is to just give it a shot, and you might end up loving it so much that you want to go back to every single meeting.
So I will say, being on the staff here, I was able to join a couple of support groups. I did one virtually maybe a year or two ago, and I attended one in person to just kind of give an overview of PHA and the educational programs that we have here. And it was the greatest group of people that I've ever met. They were so funny and loving and offered me food. It just felt like a comfortable round table discussion. You're just hanging out, chatting with your friends who have a similar experience. And then you are able to share about your diagnosis, your treatment. In the group that I participated in recently, there was a newly diagnosed guy there. And so he had a lot of questions for those who had been to the support group meetings for a minute, who have been living with PH for a minute. So it really is a positive experience if you have the opportunity to attend a support group. Going to that though, I will say that I've heard this for some time, is that living with PH can be incredibly isolating. From your perspective, how do these programs help to reduce that feeling of isolation and build a sense of community?
I'm really excited for the next episode where I'm going to be chatting with Marcy McGregor, who is a PHA support group leader and peer mentor, because I think a lot of volunteers can share the best examples of this better than I can, but I will definitely share kind of my perspective on it. I get feedback all the time that patients felt lost or maybe didn't even know what PH was when they were first diagnosed, let alone know someone else who has it, right? Support programs are really a lifeline for patients. It allows them to, first and foremost, understand they're not alone. Hearing other patients' stories can give you a lot of hope, as we heard earlier with Dorothy's story. Also, being in a group of people who all have a shared experience is really powerful. Even when doing fun things like having lunch, as you said, at the support group that you attended, or even playing games at a support group meeting together, even just a more casual meeting or setting, just having that group of people that you have this shared experience. A support group leader actually recently just shared this with me. She feels when she gets her group together, nobody has to explain. Nobody has to explain what pH is or explain why they might have oxygen or they might have a pump or they might have a scooter or a wheelchair. You belong here. This is your space. Of course, I'm just sharing all the feedback I receive from people who attend support group meetings and support group leaders themselves who share this with me. But I thought that was a really powerful statement to just say, everyone gets it. You don't have to explain pH. You don't have to explain, I have this. You're just in your group of people. And I think that seems like a huge comfort. So yeah, I am really proud to offer a variety of support resources because there are also some areas across the country that don't currently have an in-person support group. And we are working on that. But folks in these areas can still connect with others online or by phone. So you're never alone. You always have PHA and you always have other patients and caregivers in the community who really want to hear your story, chat with you, who are really just here to provide that listening ear and let you know you're not alone.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. And we recently had a workshop in Charlotte. It's called the PH Community Workshop. We actually did a whole overview episode on it. So you can check out our podcast page and listen to that episode. But our community workshops, our conference, they offer support groups. We like to have on site the opportunity for someone to participate. Sometimes it's their first time attending a support group and they get to have that experience. And a lot of the responses on the evaluations were just like, I'm so happy I participated. I'm so happy I was able to connect with others because we're all in the same space. We all have patient support groups, parent support groups, and caregivers. We want to make sure that they feel supported, which I think is a good transition to like, what about caregivers? We know that their journey is just important, their role is important in someone's life who's living with PH. What support exists specifically for them?
Yeah, caregivers are so amazing. If you're a caregiver, we appreciate you so much, whether you are a caregiver for a partner, a parent, whether you have a child with PH, you are just amazing. And I always try to reiterate that support is not just for patients. It's really important for everyone. It could even be, a loved one, a friend who helps a lot and just is trying to understand more about their best friend's journey with PH. Anyone who is, has a part in this PH journey. So all of the programs that I mentioned previously are also for caregivers. Please, if you're a caregiver, call the support line, find a peer mentor. We have a specific Facebook group just for caregivers of PH patients. We also have one specifically for parents of children with PH. So it kind of goes deeper into what type of caregiver you are, because we know that being a parent for a child with PH is much different than an adult with PH. And we have a monthly virtual caregiver support group, which is led by an amazing volunteer named Michelle Freeman. She's amazing. And this is once a month on Zoom. You can call in or you can do the video chat, and caregivers across the country call in to ask questions, share, kind of check in on how they're doing, because again, support for the caregiver is very important. So I highly recommend checking out one of those support resources and making sure that you're taking care of yourself so you can be your best to continue to help the patient in your life.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I love that those national virtual support groups, they're open to anyone. Anyone can join and participate as you see fit, as it fits within your schedule. So that's an amazing opportunity. Again, if you just want to check out what a support group is, see what it's about, maybe they're not ready to fully commit, that's totally fine. We just want to make sure that you know that we do have support available to you. This is a lot of information, Abby. This is great.
It really is. I'm really impressed with how the programs have evolved, but also how the organization has really prioritized making sure that patients get connected and are supported. I think it's absolutely one of the most important parts of our mission. And so I'm really happy to see how it's grown over the years and we're able to support more and more folks who need it.
Yeah, that is all the time we have for today to talk about support programs, because I know you will talk to Marcy in the next episode and kind of dive a little deeper into her role as a support group leader, peer mentor, even share, how to become a support group leader possibly in that episode. So that's exciting to look forward to. Any lasting message you want to put out there before we end for the day?
I just want to say that you're not alone. We're always here for you here at PHA and really encourage you to reach out. So please go ahead and visit our website. It's phassociation.org/support, and you can find details on all of the great support programs that I talked about today. And please always feel free to reach out to PHA staff if you have questions, reach out to a volunteer if you need support, and just remember you're not alone.
Thank you, Abby. I will say we will also put the links in the description of this episode to make it easy for you to find and connect with the support that we have here at PHA. Thank you for your time today. I hope you have a good one.
Thanks so much for having me, Angela.
And thank you for listening to PH Insights presented by the Pulmonary Hypertension Association. Remember to subscribe and to join us every second and fourth Wednesday of the month for more valuable insights. And thank you to J&J for their unrestricted support of PH Insights.